Coming up on today's show, we've got Brian talking about paying down your student loans faster with the help of the Secure Act 2.0. We talk about free money from the Equifax hack of 2019, and more information revealed on the LastPass hack. Coming up, stay tuned. All right, so Brian, tell me about the Secure Act 2.0 and as it relates to the student loan provisions. What's going on
Yeah,
with that?
great question. Funny you should bring that up. But yeah, so that passed at the end of December of 2022. So it's still fairly new, and we're all digesting it. And what a lot of the pieces sort of roll out over time. So there's a lot of things that were immediate, and then things going out all the way to 2028. So one of the provisions in there is to allow for people who are making student loan payments to make that look like a 401k contribution, so they're eligible for the match. So to put it simply, if people are putting away 3% in their 401k in the investment accounts there, and then also getting a 3% match from the company, people are like, well, I don't want to contribute to my 401k because I want to pay down my student loans. So now what they're saying is, all right, if you're putting 3% of your paycheck to paying down your student loans, the company can view that as a match and match that contribution. So
Wow.
yeah, it's pretty neat. So you make $100 in a week, you pay $3 on your student loan. The company will again turn the $3 match into a match into your 401k. So you're paying down your student loan and also getting a company match, which is pretty nice. And that also piggybacks another provision which allows company matches to go into the Roth bucket, which they've never been allowed to do, but now they can. So this piggybacks that. So somebody fresh out of school can pay down their student loans and get a company contribution in form of a Roth. So that's one of those provisions that will start for calendar year 2024, because there's a little bit of obviously database and technology skills that have to go behind the scenes to get that built up into the system to allow that, and some plan documents that need to be revised and all that sort of stuff. So expect that 2024. Now, it's not a requirement. Businesses don't have to do that. It's not a mandate or anything like that, but it does allow those businesses, especially those who maybe hire people right out of school or have some advanced degrees, to do that.
But
So
it's
that's pretty
inconsequential
exciting.
to the business whether their contribution is because you're paying your student loan or because you're contributing to the 401k
Right.
or
Yep.
the investment vehicle. Now, because I'm a nuts and bolts guy, this sounds
Yeah.
like an administrative nightmare.
Yeah,
What
and that's
what
why they're get so again, it's not something that's required. So you may have, I don't necessarily want to use any names, but let's say you have ABC Record Keeper and they come up with the technology and they offer it day one. You may have other record keepers who are like, you know what, this isn't a priority for us. We're doing some other things. So it might be a competitive feature as well. So you may find that some providers won't give you that
like how
option right away.
like how would
So
you literally administer that? Like you're an employee, and how do you declare to your employer every week that would the employer, I guess, remit on your student loan? Would you somehow set up in your payroll portal with your employer that the payroll would remit to the student loan?
yeah, so that's what I'm guessing is going to happen. You're going to have some payroll integration there, so it'll be another line item on your pay stub, which more people are doing that. I know. So let's say, for example, a 529 plan or saving for college, you could have that withdrawn from your checking account, but you could also get a bank account and a routing number and have that withdrawn from your paycheck, which some people prefer to do more, kind of do that through the workplace. Some people are even doing some extra savings or to a different bank account or whatever. So the payroll systems now will allow for, a bunch of different slots. So they can send money anywhere you want as long as you have a bank account and a routing number. So I'm guessing it'll have to be through a payroll system. I guess there's a situation where it could be done through some sort of API, where it might be the 401k company actually collecting that contribution and then sending it to the student loan provider. But
Does a student loan provider, it's been years thankfully, that I've actually paid off my last student loan, I don't know, 2 years ago or something. But was that a bank account that I was paying to? I mean, I was using their portal. So, like, did they
Yeah.
but technically, was there a checking account number and a routing number behind that I could have
I
just
think they
dumped
were
money?
probably pulling it rather than you pushing it. So you probably gave them your bank account routing number, and then they were pulling it. So I think this might have to be kind of the other way around if you're doing it through your paycheck. But
So I renew
we'll
my
see.
original comment. It sounds like, to me, it sounds like a nuts and bolts nightmare. Like, how do they administer that? So it's obviously the parties reading that, and then it's interesting. The government says, "Hey, you could do this," and then like the various stakeholders, payroll companies, they then have to be like, "Oh, good, let's spend our time and resources extending our systems and products and services to accommodate for this mechanism." But like you pointed out, like a smaller payroll company would be like, here's, I don't know, like, what do they do? It just sounds like a nightmare.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't know. People from a technology standpoint, I'm sure can figure it out. I mean, one of the things with the 401k industry is it's a lot of older insurance companies, sort of legacy providers, and they can be typically slow to move and slow to integrate. So this stuff moves pretty slow, but we'll see if they see it as a competitive advantage for them and they want to add it
Right.
right away. Then um, I'm sure they'll figure it out. There's certain things they have to update every year and different plan provisions and plan documents. So that's the business they're in, I guess you could say,
Right.
right?
That's true. That's
So
true.
if it were easy, everybody'd be doing it, right? So I mean, they hire their tech people, and if there's extra costs and they need to pass it along, they'll pass it along. That's just kind of the way it works. So
It's true.
um,
True. Brian, let's talk about what's going on in the market today. What's going on?
Well, grabbing headlines, it's a lot of the tech layoffs, which always grab headlines
Right.
for whatever reason. People like talking about technology. That's technology and finance. Funny how that works out, but people like those. Technology's been a market leader, so those have been sort of bellwethers. And when they do layoffs, they're in the thousands or even tens of thousands. So a lot of headline grabs. Um,
That's right.
there,
Microsoft and Amazon, I just read this morning or yesterday, they're 30,000 layoffs collectively.
yep, and obviously
Um,
Twitter
Spotify just
did.
laid off 6% of their workforce, which only amounted to, I think, about 1,960.
Mhm. Yeah, and from just a sheer job standpoint, the number is probably higher if you look at it weighted on income. But technology jobs and big tech is only about 3% of workforce. So if you think about layoffs being, even if it was 5% of the tech workforce, 5% of 3%, really pretty minimal as far as the overall economy goes. Now, obviously, you watch these things to see if it spills over into other areas. So if you've got a lot of tech layoffs and that's Silicon Valley focused, what's that do to the real estate? And California's, what if it was its own country? It'd be the world's fifth largest economy or something. So you look at that sort of spillover, but just from the sheer raw numbers of the tech layoffs, it's really not as big a deal as the headlines would indicate. So I thought that was pretty interesting that the tech and the big tech jobs is less than 3% of the workforce. So we'll see if that spills over to service because that's the largest part of the economy, but not a big deal yet. Big deal to
What's
the
it doing to the
people.
market? What's it doing to the market, though?
Well, so the market actually generally likes the layoffs, right? Because what are you doing? You're investing in a company, and if a company is proactively removing unproductive, it's going to immediately improve their bottom line, right? Because they stop paying the salaries. But long term, is it a positive for the stock? And we'll see. Sometimes if there's massive layoffs, if a company cuts 90% of their workforce, that's an indication that they were um, obviously having some major issues there with the company. But but
So from a stock performance standpoint, the market could view a round of layoffs as like, what, trimming dead wood.
yeah, yeah, is sort of a positive thing. What happens now with this environment is what they're saying is, you get a lot of these things as well. Pre-pandemic, they were here, or and before, so they're relating it back because a lot of companies really increased the size of their workforce during during the pandemic, and now some are going back to that, and
Right.
so back to pre-pandemic levels or things like that. You see that a lot with stocks, just the share prices, but you also see it a lot with work levels. Salesforce was another one that had big layoffs. So
Do you have can you give us a, a quick high level view of what the tech sector is doing in the market?
sure, yeah, we can do that.
And just while you pull that up, I'll just report some maybe notable numbers. Um, Google 12,000, Meta 11,000, and this is just in 2023. Amazon 10,000, Microsoft 10,000, Salesforce 8,000, Amazon 8,000, Cisco 4,000, Uber 3,700, Twitter 3,700, Uber again 3,000, Groupon, Peloton, Carvana, Zillow 25% of their workforce. I'm looking at layoffs.fyi. I don't know how accurate this information is, so this was just a quick Google search. Yelp laid off 17% of their workforce. Coinbase 18% of their workforce. DoorDash 6%. So Shopify 10%. I mean, this looks pretty wide. And then they repeat some of the companies. Just looking to see if there's any other eye raisers here. So, I mean, I probably would respond because I'm in the tech sector, so to speak. I guess I'm in the professional services sector. I don't know if that's the same necessarily. I mean, the tech sector is more of software development and technology development. We're more super users and implementers, so that's a little different. But still, you said what the tech sector is, what, 3% of the overall workforce?
Yeah. Yep.
But to have, to have 25%, let's see, 50% of Twitter, 44% of Groupon, 13% of Meta, 5% of Microsoft, those are big numbers. I mean, those are a lot. Those are a lot of people. Put all those people in a room, and that you fill a stadium.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, to me, from a stock standpoint, I think if it's maybe between like 5 and maybe like 12, that's probably a comfortable layoff. I think once you get into 20% of your workforce, then it's like, ooh, there might be some deeper issues there with that.
Right. So, what were you going to report on what this sector is doing?
Yeah, I mean, overall, technology makes up about 25% of the S&P 500. So a lot of people that are, invested in index funds will follow the S&P 500. So technology stocks, so we talk about the employment part of how much they make up, but technology stocks, are probably 20 to 25% of most people's portfolio. So year to date, technology stocks are up actually about 8%, whereas the overall S&P 500 is up about 6. So a little bit outperformance so far.
A lot of these companies are also in the NASDAQ, or no?
Yeah. NASDAQ is it's not mutually exclusive, so a lot of crossover there. But and NASDAQ used to be exclusively technology, but there's a lot of some banks and some other stuff in there too.
Right.
So.
Did you get your $40 check from the Equifax data breach settlement between July 2022, 2019, and January 22, 2020?
I did not.
You did not.
No.
I received a 40. I don't know if this compromises me anyway. Let's see here. There's a check number. I don't think it compromises. Can I share a check on publicly?
Yeah, sure. Why not?
Just a check
It's theirs,
number.
not yours, so yeah.
I don't know. I don't care. It's $40.
Yeah.
$40 check
I
from.
can't read that anyways.
Hang on, I'm working on it. It's not coming in. Anyways, $40 check from Equifax Breach Settlement Fund under Legal Administration, Seattle, Washington. Do we know what do you know about that?
Well, that's a company that's been hit, I think, multiple times, right? The Equifax. So that's your crediting, one of the 3 big credit monitoring services. So I've honestly kind of tuned that out a little bit. Unless I have a client that asks for it, I'll look into it. But As far as my own stuff, no, I haven't applied for that $40 back yet, but I can punch it up here and see what it looks like.
EquifaxBreachSettlement.com is a website they maintain. Hopefully Nathan can put it on the lower third. EquifaxBreachSettlement.com. And yeah, it looks legit. I don't remember, I do remember Equifax. I remember one of the credit agencies being hacked or breached or compromised, whatever. There is a website that discusses the settlement. And it's funny. I don't extended claim periods. If you were impacted by the Equifax data breach, which basically was everybody, so this is a $40 check for everybody. I think I vaguely remember reading about it in The Verge. At the time, it was estimated to be $20, like free $20 or $40. I don't know. I was a little surprised at seeing a $40 check come, but it was basically like everybody's eligible for it.
Yep.
So if you were impacted by the Equifax data breach, you may seek reimbursement for valid out-of-pocket expenses or time spent. To be eligible, your claim for out-of-pocket. Okay, so that's just out-of-pocket. File an extended claims period claim. So it looks like you may be, and then there's a whole history of the case here. So yeah, I don't know. You may still be able to put in for a free $40 check.
Yeah, it looks like you have up until 2024, January 22nd. So you can put through, it looks like time spent. You can be compensated up to $25 an hour, up to 20 hours if you spend time on it, or if you're actually, I guess, paying for Equifax credit reports or something. So.
Oh yeah, good. That's a good point. Yeah, if you have any expenses associated with that, that'd be interesting to see if they'd cut you another check. Bet you there's people out there that just do that, right? Like, yeah, I spent some time on this. It's like you don't get paid if you don't put it in, right?
Yeah, you got to be in it to win it, as they say, right?
All right, so I thought that was interesting.
Yeah,
Anything
that's a
else?
good one. That's reasonable. I mean, some of these things you end up filling out and you get a check for 37 cents or something like
Right.
that. Because there's so many people and it's a class action, and the lawyers take 80% of it. So
Right.
it's not worth doing. But hey, this one, hey, $40 if you can do it,
There you
off
go.
hours, or can do it fairly quickly. I'd say it's a decent investment.
GoTo. You ever heard of GoTo?
Yes.
GoTo is a parent company that has, over the past 5 or so years, maybe more, kind of gobbled up some of its competitors. GoTo is and don't quote me on this, but I'm pretty sure GoTo is the parent company now that owns LastPass. GoTo owns a number of other products. They used to have a GoTo Meeting, GoTo Connect. These were the original kind of webinar, kind of remote support. Well, it was like, let's face it, it's a like desktop to desktop kind of remote tool, right? And they adapted it to be a remote support tool, and then they adapted it to be a webinar hosting kind of tool in their GoTo Meeting. But I'm looking at their products right now. It looks like they have GoTo Connect, which looks like a telephony product. GoTo Meeting, which is video conferencing. GoTo Webinar, which is their webinar product. GoTo Training, which is a virtual training platform. So it's the whole GoTo family product. Then they bought LogMeIn. You've heard of LogMeIn?
Yes.
So they bought LogMeIn, and LogMeIn had similar products, both in a remote support tool, a remote access tool, remote desktop tools, that sort of thing. And then they bought LastPass, and so that is now the GoTo family. Now we know in was it August that LastPass was compromised, or November? So we heard in November that they discovered a compromise. I think that occurred in August. I think that was the timeline. And that notice was surrounding LastPass. And, I don't know if you heard that if it affected GoTo, but I did not hear that it affected GoTo. I'm going to share my screen. So we received this update from GoTo yesterday from, I don't know who this is, if it's the CEO or CTO of GoTo. To all GoTo customers, I'm writing to update you on the ongoing investigation about security incident we told you about November 22nd. Now let's just go back to November 22nd. So apparently here's the original post from November 30th, 2022. To all GoTo customers, I'm writing to inform you that GoTo is investigating a security incident. While we are currently working to better understand the scope of the issue, we wanted to let you know about the situation and how we are responding. Upon learning of the incident, we immediately launched an investigation, engaged Mandiant, a leading security firm, and alerted law enforcement. Based on investigation to date, we have just detected unusual activity within our development environment and third-party cloud storage service. The third-party cloud storage service is currently shared by GoTo and its affiliate LastPass. GoTo products and services remain fully functional, and we are committed to our customers. So even if I did see that notice, which I'm sure I probably did get that notice,
Mhm.
it's pretty innocuous, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, it doesn't tell us a whole lot there.
Doesn't tell me a whole lot either. So yesterday we get this gem right here, which I'm really shocked that the news cycle is either numb to this or nobody's paying attention. I posted on I posted about it on LinkedIn yesterday, and I'm getting about 1,700 impressions on it and a number of comments. So some of my network are paying attention to it. So they just reveal more information. Our investigation to date has determined that a threat actor exfiltrated encrypted backups from a third-party cloud storage service related to the following products. Their Central, Pro, Join Me, Hamachi, and Remotely Anywhere. Both Central and Remotely Anywhere is a remote access tool for users and administration. So that is seriously concerning. We also have evidence that a threat actor exfiltrated just means took an encryption key for a portion of the encrypted backup. So there you go. They took the backup with the encryption key. So their
Mm,
systems store the encrypted data and the keys right next to each other or within
yikes.
reach. The affected information, which varies by product, may include usernames, salted and hashed passwords. Salted and hashed passwords just means it's a sub encryption of a string. So remember when we were kids, you would use like a basic cipher to take a sentence and just jumble up the sentence.
Mhm.
So that's basically what that means in a very basic way. A portion of the MFA settings, as well as some product settings and licensing information. In addition, while rescue and go to a my PC encrypted databases were not exfiltrated, MFA settings of a small subset of the customers were impacted. So this is that was that was a hard hit for these guys. Of course, they say at this time we have no evidence of exfiltration affecting other GoTo products and those referenced. We are contacting affected customers directly to provide additional information and recommended additional steps for them to take, which basically means even though all account passwords are salted and hashed in accordance with best practices, out of an abundance of caution, we will also reset the passwords of affected users and or reauthorize MFA settings where applicable. Which is good actually, because if they can detect who was affected on their network and just instigate a password change and
Mm.
MFA reset, there's some comfort to that. If just in case you don't know if you're affected or not, or if you're, managing an environment that exceeds your capacity to proactively change the passwords. You know what I mean?
Okay. Yep. Yeah, so let me ask about that. So if you're in a business environment and you're running this as a I don't know, systems administrator or whatever, so you can force all your users to change their LastPass, the initial login there.
Yeah, I can't make a blanket statement about every single product, but most centrally administered corporate stylized products like these products do give administrators the ability to do a global instigation of password resets and MFA resets and things like that. It's completely disruptive and it will flood your help desk. But
Mm.
we're bracing for the impact today because we do have some clients who use this family of products. But the technical team doesn't seem to be on fire right now. So, and it's still early morning, so we should be able to absorb this no problem. But yeah, what else?
So people outside, um, you mentioned you're getting some comments and some traction. Is it people outside your industry or inside your industry? Because I'm always curious about that, how it relates back to my industry too. But so are
So
non-technical
that's a good
people
question. I
talking
mean,
about this?
I try to balance the connections. I didn't realize how many connection requests I have on LinkedIn. Nathan pointed it out, I think, last week. He's like, geez, you have almost, I don't know, 5,000 or something. I try to balance the people I connect with technology professionals and, other. So I don't know, maybe does this analytics give me the division of, oh, there you go, top demos. President, founders, owners, CEOs, co-founders. Those are by
Yeah,
title.
I'm just talking about this kind of post or this,
There you
the
go. Look at that.
instance of. Yeah, there you go.
So by and large, yeah, that the first three categories are technology related. So, but the financial and law
Oh,
practice.
okay. I'm sorry. Yeah, that is a specific post. Okay, got it.
Yeah, this is on on that post that I made
Mhm.
yesterday. So um, and there's some, general, um, I just said this will be news, and I'm kind of surprised that it it's not as newsy as it should be. Maybe the technology sector is probably responding to it in the
Right.
news cycle right now, but I don't know if mainstream will pick it up. It's I don't want to say it's more or less a continuation of the LastPass hack, but it is. It's obviously the same event that happened, and because it affected a multitude of products across a given brand, that's why it's noteworthy, I suppose.
Yeah, and that's interesting how you think of that big picture and content. I mean, if you're going to post something or we're going to post something, are we just going to get a bunch of other advisors or technical folks that like it and comment? How do we cross that bridge and to make real people care about it, right? I guess that's the challenge of content, right?
Yeah. Let me just share this one more time. I just want to put this up on the screen one more time and just I want the takeaway because I think Nathan likes to keep me on task with the takeaway. The takeaway here for this news event is if you see on screen the family of go-to products are up. If you use anything from go to meeting, go to assist, go to connect, go to meeting. If you use anything from log me in central, log me in rescue. If you use LastPass, if you're not updating or changing passwords, resetting your multi-factor authentication, you should be doing that
Okay.
with vigor.
Okay. Yeah, and so anybody even that uses like they have a family plan or any individuals, basically, if you have any of those products, you should change your master password, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's a little disappointing to see such an event happen on such a pervasive vendor. They do. I am starting to evaluate whether they should be a viable vendor moving forward. I don't know. It's going to be it's interesting. It's going to be an interesting year because either you're going to see this hack again, or you're going to see this you're going to see this headline again from another vendor or cascading series of vendors,
Right.
or it's going to just keep happening to this one vendor. And
Yeah.
they've already lost they already had a compromise a number of years ago.
Hmm.
So it's right now, it's like you don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater because everybody gets hacked. I mean, every time you download an update for your operating system on your phone, on your computer, like Apple just had a 0-day exploit patched yesterday. So that means there was an active exploit on iPhones that, iPhone was vulnerable to. So vulnerabilities do exist. In this context, it's just how much of this was uh, malfeasance, how
Right.
much of this was negligence. So,
Hmm. Right. And
or
do the changes they've made make them a better company? Sometimes you want to stay with the person that just got hacked because they're going to be on high alert. They've got the newest freshest, whatever,
That's very true. That's
Yeah.
very true. That's very true. I mean, they have a fiscal imperative to get it together. So
Yeah.
if
And to be transparent about the improvements, not to the point where that would allow them to be hacked, but if I were them, man, I'd be just cranking out press releases and whatever about everything they're doing and changing and as much as they can.
yeah, exactly. Here's a quick way to get $40 from the Equifax 2019 hack. Go to equifaxbreachsettlement.com and submit your claim. You get a $40 check. Here's a copy of mine.